Did you know that one of the main reasons why we struggle to achieve the kind of life and success and result that we want is because of self-sabotage? You see, for a lot of people, we are our own worst enemy because of the decisions we make, because of the way we think, because of our inability to do certain things or to change our certain ways of being. We keep on doing certain things, engaging in behaviors or activities that are ultimately costing us the very things that we want. But often we don't really understand what is the real cause of our self-sabotage. Why is it that we want something so bad and yet we show up in another way, in a destructive way in our life that cancels all the efforts we made or that keeps on creating situations that we are fed up with, that we don't want. And this is where it gets very interesting, because your mind can be your biggest asset, but your mind can also be your greatest enemy, especially when you're not self-aware enough to understand the mechanism of the mind and to understand something also called cognitive biases that strongly affect the way you think and the decisions you make in life. And so in this video, I want to share with you 4 very important cognitive biases and how they are playing out in your life and how they can lead you to make faulty decisions, to sabotage your result, and to hold you back from creating things that you actually want in your life. Now, before we go into this video, let me tell you what is a cognitive bias. Okay, it's a fancy word, but it's basically simply a tendency that your brain has to simplify information, right? It kind of filters out the information that you have based on your past reference, past knowledge, past, data that you have already in your brain and in your mind, right? And it kind of simplifies that information and often generalize it. All of this in order to reduce the amount of energy that you need in order to use your brain. Because your brain consumes pretty much 20% of energy in a day, right? It's a powerhouse. It takes a tremendous amount of energy. And so just like your smartphone, right? There's inbuilt patterns to save energy so that you can survive and thrive longer or use energy for different things that you need throughout the day, okay? So it's not a good or bad thing, it's just what it is. And with just a little bit of self-awareness, we can start to see and we can start to use those biases in our favor instead of against us, all right? So let's go into the first and probably most famous cognitive bias, and that is the confirmation bias. And this tendency that your brain has can play a lot of tricks on you. This is actually one of the main sources of struggle and inability to change for a lot of people. And so this bias is basically the tendency that we have to look for evidence, to look for information or to process information in a way that reinforce and confirm our current belief system. So you can see how this can be very negative, because if your belief system right now are playing against you, and if you hold negative thinking about certain elements, about money or people or yourself, about your identity, right? And if the confirmation bias is simply looking for evidence to reinforce those beliefs, what tends to happen then is that those beliefs perpetuate themselves, because then you go through life and you see things happening and your brain automatically labels this as being like, you see, that's why I'm not good enough. You see, it never works out for me. You see, I'm not attractive. You see, I'm not good enough. You see, this always happens. You see, nothing's ever gonna change. And so now we start to just perpetuate the situation because of our inability to see bigger, because of our inability to challenge that automatic generated, meaning that the brain has created for us. And so we remain tied up to those beliefs, because then with those beliefs in place, you keep on thinking, feeling, and acting and making the same decision according to those feelings. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a feeling that you feel like you're not smart enough. Yeah, you're just not smart enough to achieve certain things, to make a certain amount of money, or to create your own business, whatever it may be, right? So you get an idea. You get an idea and you want to open your TikTok account, or you want to sell a product, or you want to just start a side hustle, whatever it may be, right? And you start to look up for information, and then you start to get excited and you go and you do something about it. And as soon as one thing don't go the way you want, or it's too hard, or there's too many things to learn and process, your brain is going to look at those information. It's going to be like, you see, it's too much. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You don't know enough. You're not just good enough, to pull that off. And so what this is going to do is that it's going to reinforce that belief, and most likely it's going to let you give up on that side hustle, on that TikTok account, or whatever else you wanted to do simply because you're not smart enough for this. And that is the confirmation bias. And so you can see how we can remain trapped in our box simply because of our inability to think greater, challenge our old beliefs, and consciously choose to look for evidence and confirmation to support our new belief system, our new perception, and our new choice and decisions of what we want things to mean and how we want our life to be. So that is the first cognitive bias that is creating a lot of self-sabotage. The second one is this. It is the liking, loving tendency bias. And what does that mean? So this tendency makes us very biased in the way we see people that we love, admire, or strongly like. So instead of being able to objectively see the situation for what it is and how they are and what they're doing and how that may be affecting us, we distort this and we kind of filter that information through pink lenses. So we find it harder to find faults about them or what they're doing, or we find it that it's easier for us to rationalize their negative, bad, toxic behavior because of how we emotionally feel about them. For example, if you have like a big company that you really like, you admire the product, but then there's a scandal and you realize that they're actually making the product in, employing kids in a factory somewhere in China, instead of being revolted by, how they're using people and kids to create those products, you're going to not see that so personally, and you're going to more willingly close your eyes, make it smaller, or not pay attention to it simply because of that loving, liking tendency. But here's the thing, this also happens in your close, intimate relationship. It also happens, in your partner or in your business relationship. So if your partner is toxic and has, toxic behavior and so on, but you're deeply in love, you may have this tendency to justify his or her action, to disregard certain things they say or do, or to label them or put them on the side and not really see the situation objectively and how it affects you negatively and how it creates negative situation over and over and over again, and how you are in pain and in suffering because of the tendency that you have to simply let things go because of how you feel about that person. So you can see how that bias can keep us in negative, toxic relationship, which creates a lot of patterns. So it is also a key of self-sabotage, simply because we are unable to objectively, rationally look at this situation and see whether this is actually good for us. How is that playing us? How is that affecting us? How is that affecting our health? And what is really that those people are doing versus what they're saying and what they're doing. So this is for the second cognitive bias. Now, the third one is the authority bias. And this one is very interesting. This one is similar to the second one, but it plays out in a different way. It's a natural tendency that we have to look at authority, experts, or people in a higher stature position, and to blindly, and I use the word blindly strongly here because that's how far it goes, we blindly follow what they say. We blindly believe, accept what they say uncritically. And this can be extremely dangerous when those people on top don't have your best intention at heart, or when those people on top are consciously misleading you, or they have plain right no idea what they're talking about, and this could have devastating result in your life. Now, for example, think about this. When you go to the doctor and the doctor prescribes you with some medicine or this and that, and they tell you this is what you have, this is what you do, how often do you criticize, analyze, or go and look up whether this is actually true, or get a second opinion? You see, when it comes for a doctor, an expert, or somebody in charge, somebody who knows better, somebody with a degree or doctorate or something, we have this natural ability, tendency to simply accept that and do what we're told. Yeah? Same when it comes to politics. When politicians make promises and do certain things and say certain things, a lot of people simply blindly believe, even though history shows us that again and again and again they're full of shit and they talk shit and they just tell you what you want to hear because of this bias, and they know it. Trust me that their PR team know exactly that this is working. So because people have this natural tendency to believe people in authority, they will just accept that, okay, yeah, they're gonna make things happen for us. Yes, that's what I need. That's what And so this can affect you because it can blindfold you into believing, being misled into a situation that ultimately becomes harmful for you. So in today's world, we could say that this is a weapon of mass influence. So there's a lot of crazy things that happen in this world simply because of our belief in authority. And so this bias strongly affects us individually, but also as a society. So you can see how when you go on YouTube or when you go and you believe in certain people in your life, whether it's your priest or this or that person, and you uncritically keep on believing what those people are saying without objectively being able to be like, okay, is that actually helping me? Is that actually, playing in my favor? Is this actually helping me create the life that I want? Or is this keep on, perpetuating certain situations in my life that are not longer what I want to experience? So this is an opportunity for you to reflect on who or what has a lot of authority in your life, and who or what do you blindly follow simply because of the status or expert or authority that they have. And then look at it from an objective, rational point of view and ask yourself, is this serving me for my highest version and what I want to create in my life? Finally, we go into the fourth and last cognitive bias for today. This is the social proof bias, and it's a very powerful one as well because it strongly affects our decisions making and what we tend to do as human beings. And this is simply the tendency that we have, that when we don't know what to do or what's best for us, or what we should do, basically we look around and we look around at what do people do, and then we do like them. That's why trends are so popular. That's why reviews on hotels and food and movies and restaurants and pretty much on anything are so powerful, because that's why testimonials are so powerful, right? And that's why they're overused. That's why a lot of them are made up and they're fake, simply because it really deeply affects mass consciousness. And when something has a good rating and it's a must see or a must eat or a must go place, now you see people just flocking there, right? Queuing up to take a photo in a cafe because it's Instagrammable. But you see how much this can completely throw all rational sense out of the window, and we just become like a sheep doing what everybody does. But the danger here is that simply because you look at what other people do and the investment they make or what they're buying or what they're listening to or what they believe in or what they think is a good idea, does not mean that this is the best for you. And so this is where it becomes very dangerous, because if your social group or the people around you or the people that you look at around you are not aligned with the life that you want to create, let's say you want to lose weight, you want to be fit, you want to have that type of lifestyle, and people around you that you hang out to or that are mostly around you are not in that frame of mind. They're overeating and they're indulging and they're drinking and they're doing this thing because that's what they like. But if you look at that as being normal, see how people are doing that, they're eating that pizza, they're not working out, they're getting hammered on the weekend, so maybe that's what's normal. Maybe that's what I should do as well. And then if you go and do that, you're going to sabotage that result, that idea that you want, being in health and in shape and so on. So you have to be very critical, very self-aware. All of these biases require you to be very self-aware and to step out and be like, okay, how is this actually affecting me? How is it affecting me, my decision making, my energy, my thinking, my perception? Because if you look at this tendency of social proof, how often do you go to a restaurant or to a movie or buy something without checking the reviews, without checking what other people have said about it? These days, my guess is that it will be extremely rare. That's how deeply it gives us certainty that it is the right thing to do. So it's almost that sense of validation, right? And we crave to have that sense of certainty, or to know that at least if I screw up, I'm not the only one who screwed up. And that's why it can be so damaging. And that's why you have to learn to make your own decision, to think for yourself, and to sometimes, not be the sheep in the pack, but to walk your own path, because you know that you don't want to go where that group is going, and you know exactly where you want to go in your life and the life that you want to create. So those are the 4 cognitive biases and how they can maybe create a lot of self-sabotage, a lot of results that are not aligned with what you want in your life. So I hope it brings a lot of awareness into your mind and bring you a lot of self-consciousness and being like able to think for yourself, look at things rationally, pause for a moment and simply see if your brain and your mind are playing tricks on you. And if so, then you can start to adjust and make better decisions for yourself, for your life, and create more aligned results. Let me know, guys, what you think in this comment down below. If you like this type of video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see every other videos like this. I will see you next time. Be well.